In this video, I will show you how to create an AI agent in VectorShift without writing a single line of code. What's unique about this agent is it will first determine the intent of the user and then execute specific tasks depending on the user's intent. As an example, for a hotel customer support chatbot, you might want to change the behavior of the bot depending on whether the user's question relates to reception, the restaurant, room service, or maintenance. Or let's have a look at the example that we'll be building in this video. Here we have a customer chatbot for the Ford Motor Company. This assistant can perform two unique functions. First, it can provide pricing-related information from a CSV file that we will provide to the bot. And this is what that CSV file looks like. We have columns for the model, year, and the price. And if we ask our assistant, what is the price of a 2018 Ford Focus? And we get the response saying that the price is $14,000. And looking at the CSV file, that is the correct answer. Or let's also ask something not related to pricing, like how many individuals were employed in 2023? And just to show you where this information is coming from, we will upload this 2023 annual report to the knowledge base. And if we scroll down to this employment data section, we can see that in 2023 there were 177,000 employees. And switching back to our chatbot, we can indeed see that information coming back from our agent. But let's have a look at what this pipeline looks like. And we will go into this in detail, but effectively the user will pass in a query and we will then create different branches depending on whether the question is related to pricing or just the Ford Motor Company in general. If the query does relate to pricing, then we will branch off into this section where we will fetch information from a CSV file and then pass that response to the output node. Or if the question is related to the Ford Motor Company, we will actually use RAG from a knowledge base to answer the question. And of course, in your flows, you can have as many different paths as you want. And at the moment, we are simply retrieving information from knowledge bases, but using VectorShift, you can very much use integrations to send emails or perform database updates, etc. Now let's have a look at building this from scratch. Let's get started by going to VectorShift.ai and create your free account. From this dashboard, let's click on New and let's click on Create Pipeline from Scratch. Let's first give this a name by clicking on Configure Pipeline, and for the pipeline name, let's call it CSV Agent or whatever you want. Each pipeline needs an input node as well as an output node, like so. So effectively, the user's input will come through this node and we can do whatever we want with that input and we will pass some value to the output node. As a simple little example, we can grab the output from the input node and simply pass it to the output node like this. So if we run this, and if we type something in the inputs field and run this, we will get the same value in this output field. Now obviously that's not what we want to do, so let's break that connection and let's have a look at setting up those different paths. Let's go to Logic, let's add the condition node, and let's actually delete these input values like so. So let's grab the text from our input node and let's pass it on to this condition node like so. Let's say that if the user entered the word pricing, then we want this node to do something specific related to pricing. Or if the user entered anything else, we want to pass a specific value for this else condition. So for the if, let's say that if the condition, which is the value coming from the input, double equals a string value, so we can use these double quotes for that. And let's say if the user sends the word pricing, then we want to return a value of pricing path, like so. Else we will return I don't know. Right, so what we can do then is let's take the output from this if condition and let's pass it to the output node. There is one issue though. We need to pass the value from the else condition to the output as well, but the output node only accepts a value from one other node. We will fix this in a second, but let's simply test this one path for now. Let's click on Run Pipeline. In Inputs, let's enter Pricing. Let's run this, and we do get this pricing path text being returned. Let's enter anything else like hello. Let's run this, And of course, we don't see any output because we didn't attach this else condition. Now let's fix this. Thankfully, that's very easy to fix. All we have to do is kill this connection. Then let's add this merge node just before the output node. So we can now take the output from this if condition and add it to merge. And we can take the output from this else condition and add this to merge as well. So merge is perfect for dealing with several different inputs, especially with different paths like this. Now we can simply take the output from merge and send that to the output node. Let's test this. So first, let's enter pricing. Let's run this. We get pricing path. Let's also send hello, and we are getting I don't know. Let's add one more path for the Ford details path. So let's add another condition, and let's say else if condition equals Ford. Then we want to reply with Ford path. Else will simply return I don't know. Again, let's also pass the Ford path over to the merge node, and in the chat, let's enter Ford. Let's run this, and we do get the Ford path back. Great, now let's continue with this logic. First, we do not expect the user to pass in pricing or Ford in the chat. The user will use natural language to ask for pricing or ask questions about the Ford Motor Company. So we can use an AI model to identify the user's intent, and then that model will either return the word pricing or Ford. Let's do that now. We can already go ahead and break this connection from the input node, and let's add that AI model. Go to LLMs and add OpenAI, and let's take our input and let's assign it to the prompt input on the LLM. Because this is a simple classification type of instruction, we can use one of the cheaper models for this, like the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. We can also assign the response of this model on the conditions node. So what we want this model to do is to take the input from the user and then classify it as either being pricing or Ford. We can do that by setting the system prompt to something like this, where we say, you are an expert classification agent for Ford, an automotive company. Your job is to classify whether the question is about pricing or about general information on Ford's cars. If the question is about pricing, respond with pricing. For all other types of questions, respond with Ford. So this model will now return either the value of pricing or Ford. So let's test that out by saying something like, what is the price of a 2018 Ford Focus? Let's run this, and we can see that the pricing path is being triggered, although we used natural language to ask the question. Or let's also ask, how many employees did Ford have in 2023? Let's run this, and this is taking us down the Ford path. Now let's add the logic for each of these paths. First, I'm going to make a lot of space by moving the output and the merge nodes over. And we can also break these first two connections. So I'll delete this and I'll delete that. So only the else condition will pass the string value to the merge node. Now let's start with the pricing node. So what we want this pricing path to do is to look up the price from a CSV document. So in this example, I have this document with 3 columns: model, year, and price. So when the user asks for the model and the year, our CSV loader will fetch the price from this column over here. So let's do that. First, let's go to data loaders and let's add the CSV loader. The CSV loader takes in 2 values as input. First is the query as well as the CSV file itself. Let's first add the CSV file. We can do that by clicking on the file node, and let's select that CSV file. Let's also uncheck this process files into text. Then let's grab this file and let's add it to the CSV input on the loader. Great. Now we need to pass a query to this loader. We could simply take the input from the user over here, but I do recommend taking the user's input and then cleaning that up for this query loader. We can use an LLM for that as well. So let's go to LLMs, let's add OpenAI, then let's assign the response of the LLM to the query. And what's going to happen here is that this model will take the input from the user and then format it into a very specific structure. So let's first look at the system message for this. And it's actually not that complex. What we'll say is, your job is to convert a question into a specific format. The table has 3 columns: model, year, and price. And as a reminder, that is based on the structure of the CSV file. In the question, you need to define 2 metrics: the model and the year. So this is telling our model to extract these 2 values from the user's prompt. And then we can give an example to say that if you receive a query that is, what is the price of a 2018 Ford Focus? Then you need to output something like, what is the price of a car with model Focus and year 2018? The CSV query loader will be able to use this structure to accurately retrieve the price. Now that we have the system prompt, we need to pass in the value from the user's input. Now, we cannot just go and pass in the value from this input field, but instead, we need to get this value from the path itself. I'm going to move up these nodes slightly, and what we want is, if the condition is pricing, then this needs to return the input from the user and not this hard-coded value over here. We can change this to a variable by removing this, and without quotes, we can simply type input, which will actually create an input variable. And on the node, you can see this input over here, and we can actually go ahead and do the same thing for this Ford path, where we will also pass the input from the user along. Now we can simply pass the input from the input node into the input on the condition node, like so. So for this pricing path, I'm simply going to grab the input from over here and pass it into the prompt. So to recap, the user will send a message. This LLM will classify the message as either being pricing or Ford, and that value will be passed into this conditions node over here. If the condition is pricing, then we will simply pass the user's input along to this path. This node will try to extract both the year and the model from the user's query and then pass that on to the CSV query loader, which will attempt to retrieve the price. Lastly, we can now take the output from this query loader and pass that on to the merge node, like so. We can already test this out, so let's go here. And let's ask it, what is the price of a 2018 Focus? And we do get this response back. Now lastly, let's have a look at this Ford path over here. So for the Ford path, I'm going to upload this Ford annual report. And when the user asks questions about the company, so anything that's not pricing related, the agent should answer questions from that document. So let's create that path. First, let's add a knowledge base, and we can actually pass the value of this Ford path onto this knowledge base reader. Let's create a new knowledge base. Let's give it a name like Ford Motor Company. Let's confirm this. Let's click on Edit Knowledge Base. Let's click on Add Documents. Let's click on File, and let's select the file. Let's click on Add. And after a few seconds, the status will turn to green, which means the PDF was uploaded. Now let's continue with this. So the knowledge base reader will now return the most relevant information from the PDF based on the user's question. We can now assign another LLM to receive these results and generate a response. Let's go to LLMs, let's add OpenAI. Then for the system prompt, we can enter something like, you are an expert assistant for Ford Motors, an automotive company. Your job is to answer the question using context and conversation history. Answer in a professional tone, but in a concise manner. So we have to get the results from this knowledge base reader into this prompt. So for that, we can simply create a variable for the context by using these curly braces, and let's call this variable context. And let's grab the results from the knowledge base reader and pass it into the context field. Let's also create a placeholder for the user's question. So let's type question, then below that, let's add a variable, and let's call this question. We can actually grab the output of this Ford condition and pass that onto this question input on the LLM. And just to convert this into a chatbot, let's also add conversation history. So let's add some text called conversation history. Let's pass in a variable. Let's call this history. And let's also assign a history node. We can get that from chat, and let's add chat memory. Let's change the type to full formatted, and let's attach this to the history input. Great. So now that we've retrieved the answers from the knowledge base and we use this model to format a response, we can simply grab the output of this model and pass this into the merge node. So let's go ahead and test this as well. Let's ask how many individuals were employed in 2023. And that information is coming from this section in the document. So we are expecting 177,000 employees. Let's send this, and we do get the correct response back. Great. So we now have an AI assistant that can follow different branches for answering the user's query. All that's left to do now is to deploy this so that we can make it available to our users. So to deploy this, we can simply go to Deploy As, then let's select Chatbot, and this will deploy our changes. So let's go ahead and deploy this. So first, click on Deploy As, and let's click on Chatbot. Let's give our chatbot a name like Ford Customer Support, and let's save this. Then let's go to Functionality, and here you can change a whole bunch of things like the display name and a whole bunch of other attributes. And I'm simply going to leave this on the defaults. Let's go to Export, let's click on Deploy, and now we can open our chatbot. And here we can start interacting with our chatbot with this ChatGPT-like interface. Let's ask, what is the price of a 2018 Ford Focus? And we do get the price back. Let's also ask another question that's not pricing related, like how many individuals were employed in 2023? And we do get our response back. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out these other videos on VectorShift. I'll see you in the next one.